morning, everybody. We're back again. Atlanta Discuss. I'm still your moderator and your host. I'm your anchor. It doesn't really matter. We're just here to discuss the facts. That's what we do at Atlanta Discuss. So that makes me say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody in the 7 continents of the world: Antarctica, Asia, Europe, Africa, North America, South America, 7 billion people on the planet. It's not easy. Yes, and our job is to disseminate the news, just the fact. We know that there's a lot of negativity in the world, but at Atlanta Discuss, we just say it the way it is. We embrace humanity to disseminate positive news in a world filled with a lot of very, very bad news. We give a voice to the unheard, which remains our toga. We balance the information equation always. We search and discuss the facts wherever it leads. We combine the best of the human race to bring the best out of mankind. We serve always as a bridge between the developing and the developed world. We embrace IT, business, sports, health, history, and faith-based issues always. We just don't shy away from the fact. That's why today we're having the sequel to the TINUBU paper, Fact of the Matter. This time we're looking at the TINUBU paper, Fact of the Matter, and politics of the 2023 election. It is an inexhaustible topic. There's a lot to talk about. Today we have a fantastic, extraordinary legal luminary with us. We need to put a legal touch to everything. Nigerians, we all know, are extraordinary people. We are the most educated migrating bloc to almost 5 to 4 of the 7 continents I just said. There's no way you don't find Nigerians. So people ask me, why do you talk about Nigeria all the time? I tell them, 1 out of every 4 sub-Saharan African is a Nigerian. 1 out of every 6 Black person in the world is a Nigerian. Even in the United States, Nigerians are the most educated migrating bloc. Individually, we have done very well. I think collectively, there could be a little aberration here and there. But then we have to forge our way forward. Nigeria has been tagged a corrupt state in the past, with 419 being a major issue. Now it's looking like, drugs might be reoccurring. Nigeria might be the new narco state. Well, we don't know. Only time will tell. That's why today we brought a very special guest to you, so that we can trash all these issues. You give us a legal angle to it, the international perspective, and everything that entails. Today we have with you Samuel Adewusi. Welcome, Mr. Adewusi, sir. Welcome to Atlanta Discuss.
Thank you, sir, for the invite, and I say good day to your viewers and your audience.
We're so excited to have you. But I need to tell you guys more about our guest. He's a lawyer by all ramifications. And Samuel Adewusi is a practicing attorney in Maryland and Washington, D.C. His practice areas include immigration law, family law, international business transaction, and personal injury law. Moreover, he's a skilled negotiator in complex contract transactions. He graduated from the University of District of Columbia with BA in political science in 1991. In 1995, he obtained the Doctor of Jurisprudence JD degree from the David Clark School of Law. Mr. Adewusi was admitted to the Maryland Bar in 1996 and the District of Columbia Bar in 1998. He served on the DC Criminal Justice Act CJA panel from 1997 to 2001. In 2005, Mr. Adewusi was admitted to the U.S. Supreme Court Bar. In 2020, he earned Masters of Science in Cybersecurity Law and Policy from the Carey School of Law, University of Maryland. He was the principal partner at the law office of Samuel G. Adewusi, located in Silver Spring, Maryland. Mr. Adewusi was elected as the president of Edu Technology Advisory Board in 1999. He held the position until 2007. Furthermore, he served as president and general counsel for the African Artists Collaborative Incorporation, that's AAC, and the African Artists Collaborative Association Nigeria, that's the AACA, from 2006 to 2008. AAC is an intellectual property advocacy group for artists from developing countries. So in 2010, he was elected as president of the Washington, D.C. chapter of the Nigerian Diaspora Organization America, that's the NIDOA, which I'm also a member. From 2013 to 2015, he was elected as the regional director of the District 2 of NIDOA Americas. From September 19 to 2015 to September 2017, he served as the chairman Continental Board of Trustees for NIDOA. In March 2021, he was elected as the president of Nigerian American Law Association, NALA, that's NALA. with a single term ending in April 2022. Mr. Adeosi currently serves as the chairman of Nigeria America's ICT Group and practices law in the state of Maryland, District of Columbia. Mr. Adeosi is the author of a book titled USA Immigrant Manual, currently on sale on Amazon Book. I promise you I'm going to purchase that after this interview. Mr. Samuel Adeosi, welcome to Atlanta Discuss. We're very excited to have you. So
thank you, sir.
Here we kick the ground running. We don't waste time. I mean, we're excited to have you. Our viewers are obviously going to have a lot of fun listening to you. So first question for you is, can you give us an overview of the 2023 election, its implication for Nigeria at 63, considering the cost implication for the election, INEC transparency, and the 2022 Electoral Act as amended all in one? So take your time, sir.
The 2023 Act as amended was a law that we were tracking its development when it was still in the bill stage. If you recall, when the bill was passed by the, I think it was the 9th NAS, I'm not sure if it was the 8th or the 9th NAS, where Bukola Saraki was the Senate president, that law, there was a reason why it was passed. And most of the major impact of that particular act is the electronic transmission of election results. I remember it took some time before Buhari actually signed it. Buhari signed it, and as soon as the APC people actually read it, they kicked against it, and they went to court. And the court actually ruled against them and let the act stand as it is. So that act, and especially the electronic transmission of results, was the thing that gave people hope that the election in 2023 would not be business as usual. Now, fast forward, if you recall that based on the electronic transmission and all the logistics that followed it, that was why INEC under Mahmoud got so much money, because you mentioned the cost, got so much money so that they can implement that particular portion of the electronic transmission. But for the electronic transmission and the logistics associated with it, they wouldn't have been able to budget so much money from the Nigerian treasury. So you can see the cost implication. So apart from the wastage that occurred when the PEPPT, the appeals court, ruled that the electronic transmission didn't matter, it was as if the Electoral Act of whatever year it was dumped. And the money spent in preparing for the electronic transmission was totally wasted. So that is where we are. Now, when you are talking about INEC transparency, I believe that this current INEC, if the word transparency is sitting in their office, I don't think they will recognize it. Actually, I have a feeling they will lock it out when it comes to transparency. The reason being that when you conduct an election, number one, when you do not do electronic transmission as called for, and when the time comes for you to now go ahead and tell people so that people can see what was transmitted and the result itself, INEC has been very, very opaque. Actually, I don't know what stronger word I can use than opaque. Maybe you can say totally dense. Because when you look at the fact that what they were supposed to do is to transmit electronic results, let's leave that alone. But the results that were transmitted, even the results that were transmitted, how can you now have over 8,000 pages of blank results on the IREF? Think about it. When other parties, PDP, LP, when they were requesting for certified true copy that they had to pay for, INEC gave them over 8,000 of, I don't know if it was 88,000 or something like that. I don't have the correct figures in front of me. They gave them blank copies as results. And what is even worse, that they were uploading things that has nothing to do, like physics reports, somebody's faces, drawn up on the reports. That is very, very far away from transparency. Also, if you recall that at present, INEC has not given anyone, including the EU that funded it, and other agencies on the other world international agencies that funded it, the total result that actually made the current occupant of the Aso Rock let me say, temporary occupant of the Aso Rock. It hasn't given anybody the overall results that actually gave him the figures needed to be sworn in as the president. So there is nothing we are talking about transparency. That is as much overview as I can give right now. And if you have a follow-up questions, please let me know.
Well, no problem. But the thing is, it's Atlanta discuss. So it's usually a discussion too. There are a lot of questions to ask you. So we also have an opinion also. So, but you're not too far away from the facts, actually. We all know you don't have to be partisan to be courageous to tell everybody that. However, with Professor Mahmoud Yakub arrived at the final tally is still unknown. It's unknown, yeah. It's everywhere. And I'm sure even those that were declared winners do not have those figures. Because I know that in 2023, 2007, 2011, and 2015 election, even to 19, which had its own shortcoming, we had a tally, word to word, polling booth or polling booth and whatever. So, yeah. But which leads to my next question. I haven't seen all that. Like you said, the cost implication was high, 350 something billion. Let's put it at 350. I know,
huge amount of money.
America, money came from European, more than 50% of that money was for technology, actually. Technology that they now told us did not work. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so do you think based on this past reputation of INEC not conforming with the 2022 Electoral Act as amended, the INEC chairman said, okay, in the upcoming Imo and Kogi election, they are going to adhere to that same constitution. Do you think INEC should be trusted?
No. Basically, no. The only thing that you can believe from INEC right now, listen, INEC was actually behaving like a political party. If you look at their briefs and submissions during the last stint at the appeals court, they were actually holding briefs for the APC. You will think that INEC is actually a political party. Now, the only reason why you may believe them is if, perchance, the APC candidate is going to win and they have mastered what they needed to do to make sure that that happened, then they may do electronic transmission. But I don't even trust that. Because if Mahmoud Yakub, or whatever his name is, can go down to Chatham's house in front of the whole world and reassure the international community and the Nigerians, remember, international communities gave him money. They gave them hard currency, not Naira, okay? And he can assure them with a straight face that the 2023 election will be transmitted electronically. All of them. It doesn't mean that the presidential one will be shortchanged and just one part will be transmitted. So if he can tell people who gave him hard currency, if he can tell them a bald-faced lie, as long as he's heading that agency, that INEC, I don't believe anything he says. And anybody who believes it, I want to sell them the Third Mainland Bridge at a very reasonable cost.
All right. You're a lawyer, clearly, and legal luminary at that. You're very good at what you do. And I've read your resume to our listeners. And you're an international arbitrator. You're good with investment, immigration, and all that. So I'm going to go to something that happened at the appeal court. I mean, the way they ruled, there were about 5 major grounds, I think 7 when you add for APM, PDP, and Labour Party cumulatively. But I'll delve on about 1, 2, or 3 that I want you to talk about, because on the issue of double nomination, I wanted you to address the way the appeal court ruled on it. Also, on the forfeiture issue, I wanted you to talk about that, you understand? So, because we all listened to the court, they just swept it aside as if they were non-existent. The way I think even on the double nomination, their excuse was that whether there was time lapse or whether they broke the law was immaterial. The president can never run without having a vice president. So whatever the law says doesn't really count, because the president cannot run alone without having a vice. So I need to shed more light on that for the privilege of those that do not know the nitty-gritty of that. I'm sure you've read the judgment very well. Secondly, on the forfeiture of $460,000, well, which clearly from the judgment said it was forfeited because it was proceed of heroin trafficking or proceed of heroin drug business. I mean, it was clearly written. So it's not that I'm saying it. It's clear in the certified true copy and it's common knowledge. So the court also threw that out with other. So can you shed more light on what the appeal court did and what you think they should have done? Over to you, sir.
Well, the simple thing that the appeals court should have done is to follow the Constitution. That September 6th ruling practically jettisoned the Nigerian Constitution and the Electoral Act, period. And if the Constitution of any country has been jettisoned by the highest court in the land, it means that everything that flows from that, especially if you are supposed to be practicing democracy, ends. So I remember one of the vice president candidates in the last election, I will not mention names, said that if TINUBU was sworn in, democracy ends. He wasn't lying. What is the basis of a country that is supposed to be operating on its own constitution and the laws, and it's not following the law? Think about it. Because it means that if you are not following the law, if you are not following the constitution, it means that there is no justice. And we know what happens in any country where there is no justice. It's as simple as that. But let's look at the double nomination. The Constitution of Nigeria clearly said certain things regarding double nominations. It says that you cannot, there are certain timelines in which you have to nominate someone. And when you are holding a particular, if you are nominated for one particular office, you cannot be nominated for another until you have satisfactorily resigned from that particular first nomination before you can move on to the second nomination. It's a simple thing. Even you don't have to follow constitution. It's a matter of not eating your cake and having it. A matter of morality. It doesn't even have to be legal. How can you be holding two nominations at the same time? It doesn't even equate with a matter of simple arithmetic or justice. But listen, because we know what happened at the appeals court, and the appeals court just suddenly said no, but the facts are there. TINUBU himself made a statement in a news clip, and it was tendered at the court because we all follow the court proceedings with the evidence that were adduced by the opposition to APC. They clearly said, where TINUBU said certain things that he's considering somebody. So which means this person, as at that time, was holding the first nomination. And that nomination hasn't been done. And then there was the letter that was issued straight by the party themselves, by the APC itself. And if you look at that, the dates on the letter, it clearly shows that this person still held the nomination past the date when his second nomination could have taken place. So we knew clearly, everybody that can follow simple facts understand that the Constitution and the facts were not followed by the appeals court. Now, to the second question, I think you raised the question of forfeiture. Am I correct?
Yes,
is that the
yes,
second
sir.
question? Well, yes. If you recall, one of the spokesperson for the APC, who is quote unquote a lawyer, already tried to put this out there before the court actually ruled. So it looks like the appeals court actually adopted the APC spokesman stuff that says, listen, if you forfeited money, especially in the United States, and as a result of a criminal substantive action, and that money, you had to forfeit it, guess what? It is not you that actually should be charged with the crime. It is your account. And would you believe that the appeals court actually adopted that line? So APC lawyer said something, APC spokesman said something, and the appeals court adopted it. The Yoruba people said, who doesn't know that I would translate it for our non-Yoruba speakers that says, the witch cried yesterday, and an infant suddenly dies the next day. For people, you can see the correlation. So, but the issue, another issue that was even more egregious was that the Supreme Court itself had a precedent that was set that says, and one of the judges that is still alive, ruled clearly. So apart from just simple matter of common sense, that ruled in Nigeria now, not in the US, that says that anybody that had a forfeiture, that forfeiture is a crime. And it was a ruling that against one of the Abacha people when they were trying to get money that was seized by the Nigerian government, that particular forfeiture is deemed a criminal matter. Now, coming back to the United States, so we left Nigeria alone, coming back to the United States, sir. And I want your audience to understand this. I mean, you've clearly stated it. I don't have to repeat it. I just want to emphasize what you said, that the court records in the United States clearly stated that this forfeiture was as a result of illegal acts, underlying illegal acts. That was why that money was forfeited. So you are now looking at yourself and say, how can people just ignore facts? How can they ignore the precedents set by the Nigerian courts? Then, you just say to yourself, well, the Nigerian judiciary is not the last hope of the common man. It's as simple as that.
Interesting. Interesting. We're still on Atlanta Discuss here. We have Samuel Ade with us. He's a lawyer, international lawyer. His expertise includes immigration, investment, arbitration. He has written a book I think you all should read. So, I mean, he's just breaking it down the way it is, and it's always good to have a legal opinion. But there's no way we're going to talk about INEC election, of course, based on the topic of today, without talking about President TINUBU proper. I mean, what's your general overview on the TINUBU paper certificate? I'm going to give you as much time as you want on this, from the time we're looking at age, qualification, forfeiture, forgery, and everything that entails. It does look, in our opinion, and we said it in the episode before this, that there seems to be a pattern. So I don't know, how do you see this legally, and can you, in your own words, examine everything that's been discussed vis-a-vis the president and give us an opinion on it? Over to you, sir.
General overview, maybe because I went to law school in the United States. I started for the bar in the United States, and we basically deal with, they said that case law in the United States is usually sometimes 90% facts and 10% law. So you look at the facts, you look at the evidence, and you go from there. As at now, 4 different dates of births have been found for this person called Bola A. TINUBU. They have 2 at the Chicago University. Let me see if I can find the exact dates for you. I think I took some notes here. In the CSU documents, they have March 3, 1954. Then they have another one in the CSU documents now, March 3, 1952. Now, there is another date that is different from this particular date on the visa page of Bola A. TINUBU, using the name Bola Ahmed TINUBU. And then there was a search that was done by netizens, which means people who know how to do this online. There was a registration for a company registration in the United Kingdom, gave another date. So this particular occupier of the White House, I mean, Aso Rock is also painted white, I'm sorry, has 4 different dates of birth. We are not talking about names now. Now, we believe that belatedly, there was another time when, I think, end of September, early October, where the Wikipedia entry for Bola Ahmed TINUBU has now been updated to include Adekunle, Bola Ahmed Adekunle TINUBU. So instead of BAT, now its initial is now BAAT, Baat. So, and we are wondering, some people are wondering, how could that happen? After all these years, this guy has been, in politics for a long time, in government for such a long time. How come you are now updating the Wikipedia to add another name? It was because sometimes ago, Bola Ahmed TINUBU submitted an NYSC certification claiming that he completed NYSC. But the name on that particular NYSC certificate, it actually has a name. The Ahmed is missing from that NYSC certificate. It is now Bola Adekunle TINUBU. So that is why belatedly, when they saw that that was happening and people were raising the issues, that's when they had to belatedly now go online to add Adekunle to the list of names of Bola Ahmed TINUBU. That is, a short overview, date of birth, and myriads of names. Now, if you look at the transcripts from Chicago University, Mr. Westberg, who is their registrar, current registrar, says that he can categorically say that Bola A. TINUBU attended CSU, but he cannot categorically say that that middle initial is Ahmed. or what that middle initial is all about. Now, another thing that we find out was that in the transcripts, that was some of the transcripts that was sent from Delhi College, we find out that the sex, the gender of the person that transferred from Delhi to CSU is actually female. I think probably some of your audience already knew that. So if Bola A. TINUBU is a female person that transferred to Chicago University, how come the person that graduated is now male? Now, we are going to leave that aside. But understand this, in the transcript also, this is a sworn, this is a transcript. This was, remember now that when we say transcript, this is actually what they call oral deposition or oral interrogatories that was done under oath by the person being deposed. So remember now, when I keep saying transcripts, you have to put in mind that all the statements in the transcripts were made under oath and being supervised by a court official, which is now the magistrate judge that issued the initial ruling in that case. So bear with me now. So when I keep saying transcript, I'm trying to make sure that you understand the implications. So the other thing in the transcript was that Bola Ahmed TINUBU, some of the certificates, some of the documents that were submitted, Bola A. TINUBU, when he or she came down to that particular school, especially at CSU, had some requirements. I don't know, some of your audience, I don't know where they're going to school since they are all on the 6 continents. And I believe I've spoken with some Nigerian college university students also that if you have certain requirements and you don't meet them, they will ask you to do something they call carryover, or you will not be allowed to graduate. You may get your diploma, but they won't check you out as fulfilling all the requirements. At that particular time in 1979, you need 120 credit hours to graduate. Bola A. TINUBU only had 105. So without the requisite 15 credits needed to graduate, Bola A. TINUBU could not graduate. Follow me now. So if you have 120, and you have 105, it means you have 15 credits hours to go. And the transcripts sworn under oath, statement under oath says that the certificate that was issued to Bola A. TINUBU is still in their files at CSU. Now you can now tie the two together that the reason why the certificate is still in the file at CSU is because the requirements for graduation was never met. Think about it. And then there was another requirement, which this guy was supposed to finish something called English 222 and the mathematics qualifying exams. When you enter into college at a particular time, you have to, if they look at your requirements and they see that you didn't have some requisite subject matter, they ask you to go ahead, either take the exams or show proof that you actually had those, or you do what they call qualifying exams. If you recall, one of the GCE results that was submitted by Bola A. TINUBU did not have English in there. It only has 3 subjects, and they were all science subjects. And I'm not sure that particular, I'm not looking at it right now, it doesn't have math requirement. That's why CSU wanted this Bola A. TINUBU person, whoever he or she is, to go ahead and finish those qualifying exams before they can actually graduate. So Bola A. TINUBU did not finish all the requirements needed to be a graduate at CSU. So that was the reason why the certificate or the diploma or the degree, whatever it is called, is still lying in file at CSU. Now, you can now ask yourself, well, where did this person get the certificate that he or she, well, he, now that we know that is a male that graduated, submitted to INEC in 2022, prior to the elections. Now, this is where the matter, gets very interesting. Going back now, so I keep going back to transcripts, oral deposition, oral interrogatories done under oath, clearly states that Chicago State University, CSU, does not recognize, has never seen the certificates, the degree, the diploma that TINUBU presented to INEC prior to the 2022 elections. One, it was then, they tried to break it down. They asked, okay, why could you say that? They said, well, for a starter, this particular certificate doesn't meet our standard of diploma that we issued in 1979. And they actually had a sample for the court to see. The court saw that this diploma issued in 1979 doesn't have the same font. Even if it has the same font, it doesn't have the same letter. It doesn't have the same logo that belong to the university. And to make the matter worse, the people who were supposedly signing that particular degree or diploma that TINUBU submitted to INEC, those people were not even working at CSU in 1979. So I remember some of the APC defenders were like, oh, look at that particular transcript and tell me where it's particularly say forgery. And I'm looking at them and said, yes, we are being clever. But the point is that we have substantial facts. You have substantial evidence that clearly states that the certificate issued to Bola A. TINUBU is still lying in file at CSU. So I think it was Believe Sherlock Holmes or one of those, the Conan Doyle who wrote Sherlock Holmes that says when you remove all the extraneous garbage, whatever you have left is the truth. If the certificate that was supposedly issued for this person who needs more requirements to graduate from CSU was not picked up, anything else that this particular person submit to anyone is not that certificate still lying in the file at CSU. And it can only be one thing, forgery, period. You don't need to go to school to understand that. You don't need to be a genius to understand that. It's as simple as that. So, and then the last thing that the APC was saying was like, oh yes, he used a third-party vendor. If you look at the transcript again, Mr. Westberg, the registrar clearly says that they don't use the third-party vendors, that they had a simple form that you fill out, you pay $8 or you pay $26.50 in case you want it mailed to you. If you want to pick it up, you go down there and pick it up. It's as simple as that. They don't use third-party vendor. So the only thing that is now left is that the certificate tendered by TINUBU to INEC was clearly forgery, fake. It doesn't exist. It was just manufactured, period. So basically, that is where we are. And then if you're looking at more overview, if you look at the college, if you look at some of the documents that were also presented to the court, according to the transcript, this gentleman clearly said that, oh yes, he went down to Government College, Lagos. He graduated in 1970. Well, the good thing about it is that there is a record of when Government College of Lagos was established. The Government College of Lagos was established in 1974. So there is a word that they now use in Nigeria. It's called Idon, which is magic. TINUBU, who is now considered an Idon by himself, is able to graduate from a high school that was not established 4 years before he graduated from that particular high school. So only an Idon can do that. So basically, what you are looking at is just foundations of lies, building block of lies. And when a slight wind blows like this, especially blows away from the corrupt, environment of Nigeria, it just exposed the whole pack of lies, the whole building of lies, foundation of lies just tumbled down. That's it.
Interesting. Very. I love your analysis. I love it. I'm sure our viewers will be very intrigued by it. But let me also add to this, because like I say, Atlantis is what we discussed, we don't like it to be a monologue. So yes, we do a lot of research. I've been researching, and fortunately I've read the deposition. And to add to what you said, I can't remember his first name, but the registrar, I think Westberg, yes. Westberg, yeah. He said the certificate with INEC did not emanate from them. It was very clear on that. He was emphatic on the fact that the Bola A. TINUBU, whichever male or female that attended that school, there's no record showing he or she ever requested for that document that could have cost $6 or maximum $26.50. So we just have to put that out there. These are just the facts. There's no. So the truth is that if you're supposed to have 120 credits, you only have 105, and you didn't fulfill the remaining 15. So clearly, you never graduated, irrespective of whether it's a he or a she. So now, Mr. President said in Chatham House, the world heard him that he has received. He has collected his original certificate from Chicago State University, which clearly is a lie.
Well,
it has nothing to do with.
You know what is interesting now is that Mahmoud went to Chatham House to lie through his teeth, and TINUBU followed soon thereafter on BBC to lie through his teeth. So when you are now telling lies, at least you get, it is a good thing to keep your lies local. But now you are now putting your lies internationally. Think about it. What does it do to you, your country, the image that you are supposed to have, any integrity that you probably didn't have to begin with, when the whole world can see what you said and what is actually the fact on the ground? Think about it.
As a matter of fact, there was something David Undeyi said. Fantastic guy. You know, we've interviewed him here like twice, and I think we're having him. Yeah, we're having him in another week from now. He said that he went to a website called diploma.com, you know, and he made a request to have a Chicago State University diploma. And what came out was exactly, minus the name, Bola Tinubu there. So it was clear that whoever did it for him got it from there. And the logic there is that why should you forge, so to say, a certificate of a school you said you attended? What do you think about that? From what you said.
Well, look at it this way. If you came from certain environment, all right, let's say you came from certain environment and your predisposition is towards crime and to live large, then it behooves you that when you manage to go overseas, understand this is very, very important now. Because sometimes people usually say, well, some people were just, committing crimes because they were poor, because of poverty, lack. But if you look at the history and the antecedents of this particular guy, it is as if there is this inborn greed and avarice. How much can one person loot and steal first before you can say, I want to stop? But let's leave it at that. If you, based on the conjectures that we have on the ground, and we're still waiting for the FBI and the other files. So as a lawyer, I'm not going to say what, as of course, there has been reports, investigations by David Undeyi, and now he's one of the greatest journalists in this generation. And Nigeria is really, really lucky to have him. Even the whole of West Africa, because if not for his journalism, exposed the other day, we would have gone to war in Niger. But that is an aside. But, I just want to give prop to him, proper prop to, David Undeyi. But the thing is that based on the investigations, other places that, I think it is Gislover or Gisblog, this guy, they did some investigation and find out that the original name of this particular occupier of the Aso Rock, this current occupier of the Aso Rock, was not this current name that he's using. If you commit crimes under certain particular names and you probably went to jail, according to their investigations, and that name, nearly people, it's been circulating online for a long time now. Amoda, Shangodele, and all that good stuff. Ogunlere. Now, if you went to jail, you committed crime, you committed not only one crime, but crimes under that particular name, and your wish. So let's say at that particular time, if that is the name is that Amoda, Shangodele, Ogunlere, is when you went to school, where you actually got something that probably got you to the United States, but you went in there, instead of focusing on what you were supposed to do, you started running around doing illegal acts, and you had to go to jail. But then when you now, these are just conjectures now, because as a lawyer, I cannot categorically say this until we have DEA files released. And you now decide that for you to make a clean break and do other stuff, you need to assume another identity. Then all these forgeries will be needed. Once you assume that identity has to be maintained at any cost, but then assuming the identity and just living a life of, okay, so I'm getting this money, everything is okay, but you now had other ambition. And that particular ambition is to rule the nation at all costs. You see what I'm saying? That is why I talk about greed and avarice. If you cannot say, okay, listen, this is where I am now. I've done this. Let me move on. I have managed to launder money. I've managed to do all this stuff. Let me live happily thereafter. But you decided that you want to be in politics. You decided that you want to go ahead and rule this country. Then all these forgeries will be necessary to keep on patching up. That, you remember that house of lies that I told you about? You will need to keep patching it. Because as soon as, remember, somebody said that, I think it was Ando Aka or somebody, if you remember, Ganifawa Yemi took TINUBU to court when it was around 1999, when he was trying to run for the governor of Lagos State. Remember that the case went all the way to the Supreme Court because the judiciary wasn't as compromised as this one. He was actually found to have forged all those documents. but they cannot jail him. The court cannot issue any penalty because at that time he was a serving governor and he had immunity. Look it up. So if that was the case, then you need to keep continuing to go ahead and keep, because as soon as somebody exposes something, then you have to go ahead and patch something else up. So once they find out that these lies were being exposed one by one, remember we had the government college in Ibadan. Okay, I think I have the dates right here. He swore in an affidavit that when he attended government college Ibadan from 1965 to 1969, guess what? Government college Ibadan was trying to recognize some of the alumni, famous ones. And it was until somebody alerted them and they started searching the records, they found out that there was nobody by that name in their school. So once he found out that those lies have been, so he had to go ahead and invent another one. Then he said that he went to this school, St. Paul's Children's Home School, from 1958 to 1964. But the school itself wasn't established until 1968. So you see the pattern. So basically, you now look at this stuff and you keep saying to yourself, what kind of stuff is that? But the one that is even interesting was that as far back as I believe it was in 2011, was it 2011? I'm not sure if it was 2011, when the EFCC sent a letter to the FBI office attached to the US Embassy or Consulate in Nigeria, they said that there was no record of attendance of Bola A. TINUBU, the former governor of Lagos State, attending CSU, Chicago State University. And then before, in some of the affidavit that we saw, he clearly stated that he attended University of Chicago. Somebody just went down there and said, listen, let's go ahead and find out. A private detective agency called Myers Inc. went ahead and did a search. They found out that there was no record of him in the University of Chicago. So that was why when you look at the forms that he submitted, the forms that he submitted to the EFCC in 2022, he didn't mention any elementary school or primary school, and he did not mention any secondary school. And the only thing he mentioned was the CSU and Daly College. But we are now finding out that those also may not be correct. So it is a long list of something, but like I said, when you say why forge, you will have to keep on forging when you do not have anything to back you up. That is why all the forgings are necessary. You see where I'm coming from?
Mm-hmm. Clearly.
So that is where we are. That is where we are.
There's nothing to add to what you said. I'm watching with, because most of these things I'm aware of it, you understand? I've read it, so I'm so happy that you're saying it, because I've been accused, that I have something personal against. I said, no. I even told people that as a matter of fact, I like his sagacity, his
the boldness, the boldness to get away with bullshit. I'm sorry. That is a real feat when anybody.
Yeah. But I'm surprised that does INEC even screen at all, because all these things are no brainer, the inconsistency from 99 to date and all that. So anyway, my next question is, will and should the Supreme Court accept the document based on the deposition, the court judgment in America that have been submitted by the article cap?
No.
I know clearly the APC had said it's a lot of rubbish, they shouldn't accept it. But do you think that the Supreme Court will or should, or what does the law say?
Well, under the law, actually, the Anglo jurisprudence, legal stuff where we are, when the court rules say that for the court to admit or not admit something, or the court to render judgment, or the court to take certain actions, that it is under the court's discretion, which means it gives the court the leeway to do so. Because of that particular leeway, and this particular court is under Ariwola, and we find out that not only is it under Ariwola, we find out that Wike and the rest of them, and Mary Odili, had been pressuring the judges. Even if the court uses its discretion to accept the evidence, he would totally ignore it. Well, people will say, well, why are you so gung-ho? Because just recently, another appeals court just disqualified APC opponent for so-called forgery of documents. Would you believe it?
I saw it. Yeah.
In the judgment rendered just few days ago.
I think I've counted about 5 from the House of Reps alone. There have been 5 have been removed based on certificate forgery. Yeah.
Remember now, Most of these people are APC opponents. Or it just happens that, if you look at them. So what you have from the Nigerian judiciary is that if the opponents of APC forge documents, they are a gunner. But if the APC does the same thing, then it is totally okay. Now, somebody will say, well, why are you impugning the integrity of the Supreme Court? We find out that this particular Supreme Court does not have any integrity because they were the one who allowed Ahmed Lawan and people like Akpabio, especially Lawan, who did not contest for any primaries to actually be declared a winner of that particular election. Think about it. So the EU report clearly stated that too, that this Nigerian judiciary, especially the Supreme Court, it is not even a matter of respect. You don't have any expectation of fair judgment from them anymore, because it is as if they are just going down there and doing abracadabra, whatever they do it, and just come up with a judgment. It is as if they are just pulling judgments out of the thin air. It has nothing to do with constitution. It has nothing to do with their own precedent. So imagine if a court of law in anywhere in any country is not following the constitution and is not following its own precedents in cases, then why would you have any hope or any inkling of saying, yes, I expect this from them? No. The only good thing that it does, just like Barrister Dele Farotimi said, is that it's allowing us, Nigerians, to understand that all the institutions in Nigeria, all the three branches of Nigerian government has been captured. This is what we call the total state capture. Then we will see what happens then. So, but I can guarantee you that it either would not admit it because it's its own discretion, and if it is admitted, then it will say that it doesn't matter. Just like all the evidence adduced by the PDP, APM, LP at the appeals court, just like all those evidence didn't matter. And you remember one of the judges was saying, do you expect us to go find evidence for you? He was asking LP that, and everybody understood that LP gave more than adequate evidence to that particular court. So anybody that has any hope of getting judgment from this Supreme Court, I will say it is a miracle if it happens, but I doubt it.
Oh, wow.
Strongly doubt it.
These are very jaw-dropping evidence and statements. Let me put this to you. This is your final question,
Okay.
You've clearly stated that you're not expecting the Supreme Court to do the right thing. Now, we know that. Let me just ask you this way. Do you think Nigeria is a failed state?
Do I think Nigeria is what?
A failed state.
No, Nigeria has become a failed state for a long time.
Oh, wow.
And I'll give you a quick summary. There is a movie that was done, it's called The Pack the Wolf, Brotherhood of the Wolf, where somebody was going around and terrorizing the citizens, pretending as if they are wolves, man wolves, and killing the citizens. And they sent somebody down from the, from the monarch. You know what the monarch said? He said, when your citizens are not secured within your realm, within your kingdom, he said, you do not have any kingdom. Think about it. Nigerians now, I am now currently in Nigeria. I've been here since November. The Nigerian state does not provide electricity. The Nigerian state does not provide good roads. Nigerian state does not provide potable drinking water. You have to provide that for yourself. Think about it. And the last one, the most important portion of it, Nigerian state does not provide you security. Actually, the folks that were supposed to be securing you, the Nigerian police, are now turned into people who are extorting, blackmailing, and actually killing the citizens. So what else do you need to find out about a state? That is not a state. It is not even a failed state. It's a non-existent one. Yes, of course, somebody had a coat of arms. Somebody's flying in jets. Somebody has ministries and stuff like that, but that does not make a state make.
Is there a way out of all this? Yeah, is there a way out of all this?
Simple thing. The way out of it is to have justice. And the way out of it is for Nigerian people, if there is no justice, for the Nigerian people to now demonstrate free. Remember what I'm saying now. Non-violently to take back their country. That is the way out of it. or else things are going to get worse. If you recall that this morning I was just reading that the rate of exchange is now 1,100 naira to $1.
Oh, wow.
And that is on the parallel markets. Yet it is good for people who are in the diaspora who are earning hard currency. But remember, it is the worst thing for the Nigerian people because nearly everything that we have been imported, everything, down to toothpicks. So the cost of everything, and people are really suffering. If you look at the price, even cooking gas went up from 900 2 days, after I bought it for 900 per kilogram, it went down to 1,400 per kilogram. So, and how many woods are you going to cut for people to survive and cook? So the price of petrol, the price of kerosene, or what in the US we call gas, the price of the fuel that you put in your car went up. That is what you have to use to drive to bring food. The place where people are actually, growing food have been besieged by terrorists, and the Nigerian state has failed to curb terrorism. So no food, and the little that you have had to be transported across great distance at a higher cost. The hope is this. Let's hope the Supreme Court, which is hope against hope, will render justice, which I think they will not do. And the Nigerian people will have to take the matters in their hand, non-violently, and demand, because the people who are ruining in this country are less than 1%. But are the Nigerians people ready enough? We shall see. That is the only hope.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. This has been very interesting. Our viewers, I'm sure, are not disappointed. I mean, yeah, when we're talking to Samuel Adewusi, yes, he's an alumni of the University of District of Columbia. He has a BA in political science, and was admitted to Maryland by 1996 and the District of Columbia in 1998. He is who he says he is, yes. So thank you, sir. I mean, just to add to what you said, Nigeria is the only oil-producing country without a functional refinery.
So, that is not a state. That is not a state. I'm sorry. So it is what it is.
We're going to call it a wrap there. Yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. I know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, and I wish your viewers a blessed upcoming weekend.
Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. So to our viewers, you're listening to Samuel Adewusi, legal luminary with a lot of yes. He has earned his epaulet locally as a Nigerian, internationally in the United States, So the point is this: all the documents tendered by the incumbent president to INEC, as we know today, are not genuine. We're not in a position, we're not the court, we're not that. That's our view on Atlanta Discourse. And the only two documents we're aware of is the NYSC and the Chicago State certificate. Those clearly did not emanate from source. They are under very spurious circumstances. The Independent National Electoral Commission has not acted independent. These are not political statements. These are not partisan statements. Those are just the facts. That's what we go for at Atlanta Discuss, just the fact. So I'm going to come back to you with another very interesting topic. But today we have done justice to the TINUBU papers, the facts, and the politics of the 2023 election. Mr. Adewusi, we're going to call you back in no distant future. I'm sure by the time we have the Freedom of Information papers roll out, I'm going to come knocking again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Australia. Thank you, Antarctica. Thank you, Asia. Thank you, Europe, Africa, North America, South America. See you all later. God bless you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.